This movie by far is one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top, outlandish, nonsensical movies that I've seen in the longest time. And it's going on to be my favorite movie of the year. Welcome to my safe gaming. Thank you guys for clicking on one of my videos and joining me for another review here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time watching me, hey, how's it going? My name is Michael. I'm the Black Gay Comic Geek. I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk superheroes, I like to talk action movies, I like to talk video games, I like to talk comic books, I like to talk sci-fi, I like to talk fantasy, and I like to talk black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you enjoy my review, if you enjoy my opinion, if you enjoy seeing this face for whatever reason, hopefully you hit that subscribe button and you become one of my safe Gaveneers here on the channel. But whether this is your first time or you've been on this channel multiple times, which thank you so much for that, if you could do me a favor, hit the like button. It'll help with the YouTube algorithm in the stream. Please, 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 please. If you're watching this video right now, you're hearing my sound, just hit that like button. But anyway, we are here to talk about everything, everywhere, all at once. I actually saw it like maybe 2 weeks ago, and then I saw it again last weekend, and I've been trying to put the video out for the longest time. I just keep getting distracted, and then stuff happens, then I get invited on another podcast, or then I gotta be out late because of work, whatever. Anyway, the video is coming out now, so yeah, we're talking about everything, everywhere, all at once. It is the latest film distributed by A24, who's done films like Ex Machina, which is the first time I saw Oscar Isaac. I really enjoyed that film. Uncut Gems, another film that I really enjoyed, which I did review as well. They did Moonlight, Midsummer, which I haven't seen, Hereditary, which a lot of people loved, and I love Toni Collette's performance, but I was just like, eh. And this movie was actually produced by the Russo brothers, which I didn't know until after I was in the movie and saw the end credits, and I was like, oh, okay. And it's directed by the duo known as the Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Snart. Their first feature film was Swiss Army Man back in 2016, starring Daniel Radcliffe, which I haven't seen, but I did hear some good things about, so I need to go back and check that out. And now this is their second feature debut, or not debut, but this is their second feature. And this movie stars the iconic and legendary Michelle Yeoh, and the synopsis for Everything Everywhere All at Once is: when an interdimensional rupture unravels reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. And obviously, with the way movies work, this movie was in production and being made a while ago, but I was just like, I was thinking about it. I was like, it's funny how now Marvel and DC are diving into the multiverse. Marvel first. DC still hasn't done it yet because Flashpoint was supposed to come out like in 2018, but we're still, especially now with the stuff that's going on with Ezra Miller, that movie's never coming out. But I'm like, it's funny now that the comic books are delving into the multiverse. Now all movies are doing multiverse all of a sudden. But yeah, like I already said in the intro, you already know how I felt about this movie. Like, I love this. This was my favorite movie of the year so far. Obviously, the year is not over, but so far, this is my favorite movie of the year. And I mentioned this in my review for Ambulance. Check that out if you haven't seen it, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is my #1 favorite movie of the year, then The Batman, and then Ambulance. And the thing about this movie that I really enjoyed, and what called out to me for the first, while I watched it the first time, because like I said, I mentioned I saw this movie twice, and funny enough, it was even better the second time than when I watched it the first time. But the thing that I really loved, you know, I always talk about, like I mentioned, I talk about black representation and queer representation, and then representation in general. But I love that this was pretty much an all-Asian cast, which is something you really don't get that often in mainstream movies. And then even then, this technically isn't a mainstream movie because A24 is an independent studio. But the thing that I loved, and that you don't see that often in movies, Michelle Yeoh's character, who plays Evelyn Wang, she's the chosen one. She's the one that is needed to protect and save the universe. How many times do we see in sci-fi fantasy where the chosen one is always a white male, a straight white male? And then every so often with like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example, the chosen one is a white woman. Or like Harry Potter, The Boy Who Lives, Luke Skywalker, all these chosen ones always being straight white men usually, or just white period. Very rarely do you see the chosen one being a person of color. And then, not only just that, not only is the chosen one an Asian woman, but she's an older Asian woman. That's also something that I really enjoyed about the show Charmed. Whereas most superhero sci-fi fantasy shows or anything like that, like most of the people that they follow are teenagers or in their 20s or whatever. But like with Charmed, they were adults. They were fully into their careers. They were dealing with adult problems as well as now discovering this magical world. And it's the same thing. You don't really see older women getting to do these types of roles, which is also something I really loved about Lovecraft Country. Throwback with Anjuan Ellis playing Hippolyta, how we got to see her doing all these action sequences when she was an Amazon, a gladiator. And it's like, how many movies do we see where like The Expendables, where that's literally the plot of the movie, old grizzled men, or what's that movie with Denzel? The Equalizer, there we go. Like, that's really the whole, like, people, old men in their 60s still being able to be action stars, but yet women, really, when they hit like 35, they're expected to like retire from action movies, more or less. And since I'm already there, speaking of action, that's something that was like incredible in this movie. And not only just like getting to see an older Asian woman perform as an action star, Michelle Yeoh is in her 50s, I think her late 50s, almost her 60s, and you could tell with the way they crafted the camera, she did a lot of her own stunts in this movie. And it just made the experience more immersive. Speaking of doing their own stunts, her person that played her husband, Ki Hugh Kwan, like, there's a video on Instagram that's, I think, on the A24 page where it shows there's a scene that I think there's you can see in the trailer where Ki Hugh Kwan is fighting with a fanny pack. And there's a behind the scenes moment where you get to see like he's doing all of that himself, doing all his own stunts. And I like the action for this movie was fun. It was fun. It was immersive. Like I enjoyed every single action. And then they played. It wasn't just like action sequences that were played for like serious. Like they took the action sequences and they made it a literal spectacle. And I said this movie was outlandish. This movie made absolutely no sense. And they took those for the action sequences too. And it just made it, the whole experience was just incredible. Speaking of incredible, let's get more into the story. I'm not talking spoilers in this video, but yeah, so obviously you have Michelle Yeoh's character. She starts off as Evelyn Wang, an unassuming woman that runs a laundromat, and she's just basically living her day to day. And then she's thrusted into this sci-fi supernatural circumstances. And the way they explain everything, like, it's just crazy. And they even say in the movie, like, what you're saying makes no sense. And that's what they did, like, in a lot of ways. Sometimes some movies and shows or mythology, they get a little too bogged down trying to really explain everything. And it's not to say they didn't explain or didn't have exposition in this movie. They did, but they explained it in a way where it's like, just go with it. It doesn't really have to make sense. And speaking of that, with that, and if you haven't seen the movie, you won't know what I'm talking about. But if you've seen the movie, you will know what I'm talking about. But be wary of the butt plugs. Butt plugs will put you in some danger. And even with that, just saying that statement where it's just like, you have to be afraid of a butt plug because butt plugs will, like, you'll be in danger if you come across a butt plug. Just saying that statement, and as crazy and as outlandish as that was, like, that's essentially what this movie was and how much fun I had enjoyed. And you could tell that the actors had so much fun in this movie. Like, speaking of, Jamie Lee Curtis has a big role in this movie. And this is a role, and the type of role that she played, and this is something I've never seen out of the decades of Jamie Lee Curtis's career. This is a completely different role that she's ever played before. And you could tell that she loved playing this role. She had so much fun. And I loved watching her in this role. And it was just, again, I can't praise this movie enough. It was so much fun. And speaking of praising this movie, like I mentioned before in my Secrets of Dumbledore review, how I didn't think it was gay enough, link up here, which I've gotten a couple comments for that, for like, oh, why do you have to bring in your agendas and yada, yada, yada? Why can't you just enjoy? Fuck those people. But anyway, something that I didn't mention in that review because it happened after I posted it, but in the movie, China actually is censoring the movie because there's literally 2 lines in the entire movie referencing Dumbledore being in love with Grindelwald. And it's not a spoiler because it was in the trailer. There's one moment where Dumbledore says, "I did what I did because I was in love with you." And then the second moment he says, the summer Gellert and I fell in love." Those are the only 2 lines regarding his homosexuality and the fact that he was in love with Grindelwald and he had a romantic and intimate relationship with Grindelwald. There was an article that said it was literally 7 seconds of the entire 2-hour-plus movie. Those 7 seconds were able to be edited out of the Chinese release, and it really not change anything about the movie. And if you're asking, like, why am I talking about Dumbledore regarding this, I'll get to it. But yeah, 7 seconds out of a 2-hour-plus movie can be taken out, and it really changes absolutely nothing. His being gay and in love with Grindelwald was so inconsequential to the story that China is able to take it out and it changed nothing about the story. So I say all that to say, in this movie, one of the main characters, played by Stephanie Hsu, who plays Joy Wang, Michelle Yeoh's daughter, she is a lesbian in this movie. And her being gay, her being a lesbian, is a very important part to the story. So I say all that to say, you can't censor this in the Chinese release. So more than likely, even though this movie is played by Asian actors and the characters are Chinese, I'm not sure if all the actors are Chinese, but all the characters are Chinese, this movie probably wouldn't play in China, sadly, because they can't censor the gay out of it. It'll change like the whole dynamic of the movie. Plus, there's like, again, I mentioned like butt plugs. There's fight scenes with other sex toys. I'm not going to mention, like, this movie was completely wacky and it was everything that I loved. And blood, sex, gore, and magic, and just the like fact that they have fun with this movie. Like, yeah, this movie was incredible. And like, even when you watch the trailer, you kind of think you know where this movie is going. You kind of think you know what the overall story is going to be. But even just watching the trailer, you like going back to, you know, aging myself, back to those MTV Diary days, you think you know, but you have absolutely no idea. And also the thing about this movie, I would say this movie is a genre-bending movie because this wasn't just a sci-fi movie. I would even call this a superhero movie in certain, because Michelle Yeoh's character was definitely a superhero. She was a chosen one. She had powers. And she was saving the universe. That's basically a superhero movie. So it wasn't just sci-fi. It wasn't just a superhero movie. But this movie was also a drama. There was some serious moments. This movie had action. It was an action movie. It was all of the above. And at the heart of this movie, and this movie did have a lot of heart, but at the core of this movie was a story about family. Throwing in a Fast and Furious reference, family, it's important. Yeah, this movie was a family story and the importance of family, and more specifically, the strength and the importance of a mother-daughter relationship. And so because of that, there were a lot of emotional moments from this movie. So because of that, this movie will have your emotions all over the place. Like, you'll be laughing one moment, crying the next, confused the next moment, rooting because you're excited about the action. Like, this movie was a freaking roller coaster ride in terms of like how it will have your emotions by the end of the movie. And then again, without spoilers, like Raccacoonie, I think that's probably like my favorite non-existent friend. Like, I want to see more from Raccacoonie. Like, I love that. That was like the funniest thing of the entire movie. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like, I can't rate this movie highly enough. I'm going to say Everything Everywhere All at Once is a blockbuster. I'm definitely buying it on Blu-ray. I'm definitely going to be watching it several more times. And yeah, as of right now, I mean, even with all the movies that know coming out this year, honestly, I don't see any other movie taking the place of this as my #1 movie of the year. But who knows? Something else might surprise me. Like Ambulance surprised me. The fact that it's in my top 3. So yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once for me is a blockbuster. But the question is, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? If you haven't, you need to go see it immediately. But if you have seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can, again, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. It'll really help out with the channel. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.